Brock Purdy has been put in concussion protocol. Also, could the San Francisco 49ers address a massive need, bring in an edge rusher, and trade for Montez Sweat? It's all coming up right now in the 49ers Report. And we begin today's show with some breaking news. Brock Purdy has been placed in concussion protocol, and his status for Sunday's game at home against the Cincinnati Bengals, as the Niners look to end their two-game losing streak, is up in question. If Brock Purdy cannot play, it will be Sam Darnold time for the Niners. We're going to take a look at this injury. We're going to talk about Sam Darnold and, of course, look into these trade rumors revolving around Montez Sweat. First, though, if you want to support the show, look, anytime breaking news happens, we cover it right here on the 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr. We're currently at 97,700 subscribers, largest independently run Niners YouTube channel, and we're on the road to 100,000 subscribers. As soon as we get there, YouTube is sending us that silver plaque. Can we get there with our watch party against Cincinnati on Sunday? I think that we can do it. Just hit that subscribe button right now. So going back to Brock Purdy here. Started to feel concussion symptoms on the flight back after that loss to the Minnesota Vikings. Did not practice today on Wednesday, but was on the field for a walkthrough. Now his status for Sunday's game is uncertain. I do want to address this tweet from Adam Schefter because I'm sure a lot of people saw this on social media, and they're thinking that Brock Purdy is going to be out of this football game like it's a guaranteed thing. Not so much. Schefter said this: Brock Purdy now unlikely to play Sunday against the Bengals based on this trend. No NFL player placed into concussion protocol this season has played the same week. The last player to be in protocol who played the same week was last year, 2022, when Kenny Pickett had a concussion in Week 6 and was cleared to play in Week 7. That looks and sounds like a well-crafted tweet from a reliable source, right? It's fake news because we did our own research here at Chat Sports, and there have been two incidents in which a player was put in concussion protocol and ended up playing that week. Cam Taylor-Britt, Mo Alley-Cox, both cleared, both got out of concussion protocol, and they were on the field that week for their respective teams. So there is a chance that Brock Purdy could play for the Niners here as he looks to get back on track after a couple of rocky performances. If he can't, looks as though it's going to be Sam Darnold time for head coach Kyle Shanahan, and Darnold will start in what Fred Warner called after that Vikings loss a must-win game. You've lost two straight. You've been exposed. You've gotten punched in the mouth. You've turned the football over. You've looked ill-prepared, poorly coached. You've looked over your opponents, and because of that, you've already suffered back-to-back L's. You suffer a third straight loss in what is a very close NFC going into the bye week. The bad vibes then linger for a couple of weeks until you come out of the bye week to get back on the football field. That's why this game is paramount for this football club. And a lot of you are also asking this: okay, Brock Purdy can't play. Is Sam Darnold going to start? The answer to that would be yes. He's the backup quarterback for this team. This is maybe where some people are saying, you could have had Trey Lance as the backup. That's behind us now. Going to be Darnold. As for when this injury happened, we're not sure, and Kyle Shanahan didn't release that information when he addressed the media just moments ago here on Wednesday afternoon. But we've taken a look at some of the Zapruder film, and with 7:03 left in the fourth quarter, Brock Purdy ran a quarterback sneak on a short yardage situation. He picked up that first down as he's pushing the pile. Jordan Hicks, Vikings linebacker, comes into the pile, right? And he hits Brock Purdy really hard in the head, and you see Purdy's head snap back a little bit. And if the concussion happened then, that could be a result, or at least play a role, as to why Purdy struggled to end that football game. Because after he took that hit to the head, and if that's where the concussion took place, Purdy was 2 of 6 the rest of the way. One of those incompletions included a quarterback spike, and he threw those 2 interceptions. So certainly add some context to if that was the reason or reasons why Purdy gave the football away. If Purdy is unable to go against the Bengals, what does it mean for San Francisco? How does it impact the squad? I think that he needs development after some of these struggles. Good defense against Cleveland, struggled against Minnesota, picked apart their blitz, And then once they drop back in coverage, he threw those 2 picks. And I think it's really important for a young quarterback to stay on the field, continue to steadily get those reps, especially when you're dealing with some things, dealing with some adversity, dealing with struggles for the first time in his career, to find a way to work through those things. So if he doesn't get that time, it's disadvantageous for Brock Purdy. 3 straight losses if he can't play, and Sam Darnold doesn't play well, is not good going into the bye week. It's not good for your standing in the NFC playoff picture. I think there's a sizable drop-off between Purdy and Sam Darnold. Darnold has a stronger arm. He's a bigger athlete. He can run, but the indecision from Darnold and the quick processing from Brock Purdy, I think, is really, really a massive gap that can impact you on the offensive side of the football. The positive spin is that if Purdy does not play in this game, it's the last game before the bye week, and you have to imagine he'll be back after the bye if he's able to clear those concussion symptoms. What Darnold brings to the table, he's a very good athlete with the strong arm. He stands about 6'4". Because of that strong arm, it's a bazooka, man. He can throw off platform. He can throw across his body. He can throw out of structure, rolling to the right. Like, he really is a gifted thrower of the football. He can really make any throw on the field, but he's prone to making mistakes, and that's been the story for his entire NFL career. He started 55 games. He's thrown 55 picks. That's not going to play, and that's not winning football. He's also 21-34 as a starter. The teams that he's been on, New York Jets, Carolina Panthers, poorly coached with bad rosters. He's never played for a coach like head coach Kyle Shanahan or for a team that has the weapons that the Niners do. So that can help elevate his play a little bit, but I think at this point we know who Sam Darnold is. It will be a coaching flex. I'll tell you this, if Kyle Shanahan can work his magic and win with Sam Darnold. You go up against another team in the Cincinnati Bengals who's gotten off to a slow start this year. They're looking to string together some victories. Sam Darnold picks apart that defense, and Kyle Shanahan looks like a genius. That's a good look right there. More positive spins here. Nick Wagner covers the Niners for ESPN. He did say that Purdy is already feeling better, will take part in some aspects of today's walkthrough. There is still time for him to clear protocol and start Sunday, according to Kyle Shanahan. Sam Darnold will get the reps with the starters in the meantime. I don't know what to make of these Niners injury reports. At the start of last week, we were told that Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey all had a chance to play. Only McCaffrey played. With the human body, you just never know what's going on or the timeline that comes along with some of these injuries. Here's what I'll ask you, though. Can the Niners beat the Bengals without Brock Purdy? So if Sam Darnold is the starter, can San Francisco be victorious? Give me a W for win or an L for lose. Coming up next here on the show, could the Niners trade for Montez Sweat? Sweat has connections to the Niners organization, and Kyle Shanahan, in talking today with the media, did not rule out addressing defensive line. First, though, we want to welcome on a brand new sponsor here to the San Francisco 49ers Report. It is Kudo. Are you on the hunt for a new guilt-free snack? Let me introduce you to Kudo, the official protein popcorn of the UFC. That's right, protein popcorn. Kudo Popcorn's revolutionary cooking method allows each bag of popcorn to have 10 grams of whey protein in every single bag, and it still tastes absolutely delicious. Yes, you heard that right. 10 whole grams of protein in every bag. Get in on the snacking revolution that MMA athletes like Michael Chandler, Robbie Lawler, Bruce Buffer, and even Dana White himself endorse. For a limited time, our listeners and our viewers get 25% off their entire order, but you have to use the code CHAT at kudosnacks.com. Multiple flavors to choose from: garlic parm, white cheddar, salty sweet kettle corn. I've tried all of these. They are all delicious. And it's kettle pop to perfection. We're talking about the aforementioned 10 grams of whey and milk protein isolate, gluten-free goodness, keto-friendly fuel, and it's made right here in the USA. You got to try it for yourself. We're going to put that link in the comment section and in the description of this video. That's 25% off with the chat, with the code CHAT at kudosnacks.com. Save some money, support the official protein popcorn of the UFC, and get popped. You know who pops the quarterback a lot? Montez Sweat. So let's round out today's show by talking about that. Sweat has connections to the Niners. Kyle Shanahan didn't rule out addressing a trade for some edge help. And I want to look at this report here from Nikki Jabvala, one team that has made a trade offer to the Commanders for defensive end Montez Sweat. And he said, or she said, there's one team that has made an offer to the Commanders for Montez Sweat, but none so far have offered for defensive end Chase Young, per source. Unclear of the terms of the offer for Sweat. So certainly interesting. Could that lone team be the San Francisco 49ers? They need edge rushing help. They're currently struggling to get to the quarterback. That's a big reason why Kirk Cousins sliced and diced this team up on Monday Night Football. They have the most cap space in the NFL and connections to the player. Of note, Chris Kocurek, Niners defensive line coach, and the Niners coaching staff, Coach Sweat, during the 2019 Senior Bowl. That is not it. They also hosted him on a pre-draft visit. So they were clearly interested in drafting the player at some point. They didn't end up taking Montez Sweat. They took another defensive end in that draft, Nick Bosa out of Ohio State. Sweat lasted all the way until 26th, and he's ended up being a pretty good pickup for Washington, but in the final year of his deal, and Washington, a team that could sell, could look to get rid of him for some quality pieces back. Going back to the pass rush problem for the Niners here, it is an issue. San Francisco has $92+ million invested in Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, and Javon Hargrave. They only have 12 sacks for the entire defensive line unit. So you're paying a lot of money for a little production. That ain't good. And at some point, you can't just blame the scheme, even though Kyle Shanahan did say that Steve Wilks admitted that the blitz at the end of the first half that led to that 60-yard Jordan Addison touchdown was the wrong call, even though Charvarius Mooney-Ward probably should have had that pick. Either way, only 12 sacks for the entire defensive line when you're paying $92+ million to those three players. And San Francisco as a team has only generated 15 of them. That is tied for 18th among 32 teams in the NFL. You're not going to be successful when you can't put pressure on the opposing quarterback. And that's what Sweat does well. So this is a player that I would do some due diligence on. I would kick the tires on him because you look at his sacks by season. He's been in the league for 5 years. You want a player like this. Randy Gregory, solid depth piece pickup. He's getting more snaps now than Drake Jackson. The curious fall of Drake Jackson has certainly been fascinating. Nick Bosa, you can make the argument that the reigning Defensive Player of the Year shouldn't need that much help along the defensive line. But why not stack up this roster when you have an opportunity to make a Super Bowl and address an area that needs to be addressed? 7 sacks, 9 sacks, 5 sacks, played 10 games that year in 2021, 8 sacks, and already this year, 5.5 sacks. So looking to earn a contract, of course, but a freak athlete who's physical, very, very good player. And you look at what he's done the last 4 years on top of the sack numbers to the far left of your screen. He's hit the quarterback a lot. 10 quarterback hits this year, 28 last year, 13 in that injury-plagued season in 2021, and then 20 quarterback hits in 2020. Good at making tackles behind the line of scrimmage. You know what I also think is underrated? We don't see a lot of Niners defensive linemen bat down passes at the line of scrimmage. Montez Sweat does a pretty good job of that. He's got that vertical leaping basketball type of jumping ability to come through with some of those pass breakups. He had 6 back in 2020, 1 this year, 2 in 2022. So I think that element to his game is a little bit underrated. Has that switch. The asking price for him and Chase Young is going to be high for sure. But really, in making this trade for Montez Sweat, you address an issue, and he helps what has been a problem for this football team that's holding San Francisco back right now. Because for the season, the Niners have a pressure rate of 27.6%. That ranks 22nd among 32 teams in the NFL. It's 23.5% when not blitzing. That's 23rd. And 40.5% when they do blitz. Montez Sweat will be able to help you with those numbers. And in turn, it could free up Eric Armstead and Javon Hargrave, who were getting slammed with double teams, all throughout that game during Monday Night Football, and Nick Bosa couldn't win his one-on-one matchups. Shanahan today, not ruling out the possibility of that trade. So I think the Niners' familiarity with the player, and then Shanahan not ruling out the possibility, those are important kind of elements of this conversation, giving us a peek into whether or not San Francisco could make a move with the deadline coming up on Tuesday. So do the Niners need to trade for edge rush help? Why for yes and for no? We laid the foundation. We gave you all the numbers. Now it's up to you to decide. Be sure to give me a follow on Twitter for X now, I guess, formerly known as Twitter, at Chase_Senior. We'll be back tomorrow. Niners Report Live. Do not miss it for the best Niners coverage right here on YouTube.